shots. Shots. Fume, 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 fume. What's up, everybody? You're back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, Coach, Austin. We've got another NFC West preview for you. We're diving into the Cardinals. We're going into the desert today. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sweaty. Make sure you've got, Gold Bond down below so you're not chafing. It's going to get warm. We're diving in.
Actually, that dry heat is not as bad as it is in Florida, like where you got to,
It's not like you don't feel like you're hot, and then you lift your arms up and you've got a literal puddle under there, and you're just like, oh, perspiration, my body's working.
Yeah, you can never play basketball against Justin because there was no defense you could do on him after 5
Oh, bro,
points.
I've got to bring like 3 or 4 shirts when I play basketball.
You're like that dude from Along Came Polly, like
yeah.
100%. I've never seen anything like it. He rings it out after.
It's insane, bro. It's insane.
Working. So
every day.
That's what it is. I'm working out there, slapping the floor.
So we're here to talk about the Cardinals. They added the consensus best wide receiver in the draft, and
clap it up for them.
Hey, stuff's happening for him now.
I meant like clap it up for the Arizona Cardinals for making a solid move.
Oh yeah, there we go. So they did add Evan Brown, Jonah Williams, and Sean Murphy Bunting in the offseason. They lost Hollywood Brown and Rondale Moore, which didn't matter because they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr.
Shave off that fat.
And honestly, we were talking about it a lot last season. We thought Michael Wilson might have a chance to pop off with Hollywood Brown being hurt and then kind of like just underperforming. He never really did.
He did there for a little bit.
He had a couple games.
He gave you some hope.
So I still am a little bit high on him.
A little bit of the sauce he's got there.
My question for you guys, number 10 wide receiver overall, 17th pick off the board, Marvin Harrison Jr., second-round pick in his first year. In a dynasty, obviously, we're going after Marvin Harrison.
Seeing 10 targets a game.
But are you guys really going to spend that type of capital when Garrett Wilson's still on the board?
His ADP shocked me, and then I started looking at the roster like Austin was saying. Like, if I'm targeting a wide receiver more than 10 times a game, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. over Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch. I love Greg Dortch. Like, I'm a Greg Dortch truther. He's just going to be your over-the-top guy. Trey McBride is going to command some attention, and he's going to get his 6 to 8 receptions. But it shocked me when I first saw it, but it does make sense. Like, the guy's just going to command the ball.
So what you just said is exactly why I'm not high on Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride in redraft leagues. Trey McBride had absolutely nobody to contest for targets last year, and Marvin Harrison Jr. now has to also contest with Trey McBride. I think that both of them will have good games, but for both of them to be like super consistent, Trey McBride you at least get to take at 43, but we all know that nobody's waiting until the 4th round to take the 3rd tight end off the board. First tight end's going to go at the end of the first, beginning of the second.
Yeah, it'll cause a panic, and the next 3 or 4 will go, and then, you're sitting there
waiting. So, am I taking Trey McBride in the 3rd round? Yes, dude. He's tight end 3. That's a bit heavy for me.
He proved it last year.
He's solid. I'm not saying that at all. I love him as a player. Don't come at me that hard in the comments. I just don't know if this offense is going to be able to have 2 players that are taken in the top 3 rounds of fantasy that are going to consistently give me what I want.
This offense is on a whole other level.
And Jamar Gibbs and Sam Laporta last year. Jameer, thank you.
Yeah.
They all produced super heavy, but you didn't have to take Sam Laporta until like the 7th or 8th round or later. And Jameer Gibbs was like a 3rd or 4th round pick.
He was a rookie.
I don't know if I'm buying in that hard.
So where's Trey
McBride's
going?
stat line is very similar to what Deebo Samuel put up, aside from the touchdowns.
Yeah.
Bro was on another level, like on another planet. Like, he was doing shit he was on Sam Laporta's level for the last 8 weeks of the season, at least. He was set him and forget him.
I'm not disagreeing with what you just said at all. It's just the fact that this year He has Marvin Harrison Jr. to deal with. Like,
That's good. That's good for him. He finally
and
takes someone
they
some
took
target.
they
Like
took Trey Benson in like the third
takes
round.
eyes off of him,
They obviously want to have a little
so
bit
they
of a
can
running
move the
game.
ball now.
They want a
It's
little bit
good
of a
for them
running
to be able to
game.
move the ball.
I agree. It's just a lot of mouths to feed, and like Kyler's never been enough of like a volume quarterback for me. I think that Kyler at quarterback 10, 65 overall is phenomenal value. He finally has all the weapons around him, and you don't have to take him at quarterback 3 or 4 or 5.
But if you pair him up with McBride and Marvin Harrison, it's a
I wouldn't
decent stack.
wouldn't hate that, but like man, to take Marvin Harrison at 17, like
I mean, you're
that's
getting all
just a
the
bit heavy for me.
touchdowns there.
I'm also very shy on taking rookies. I like to see them do something in the league before I like super
Definitely a
buy
gamble.
into them.
Now, what's to say though, where he is going at 17? What's to say if you get a CD Lamb in the first round, and then you're able to come back in the second round and take Marvin Harrison Jr., or you're able to take a Puka Nakua at the end of the first, and then Marvin Harrison in the early second.
I'd probably
so then he
rather take
becomes
Cooper Kupp.
because then he becomes your wide
That
receiver
was
too.
disgusting.
I would rather take Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper
Cooper
Kupp
Kupp
is
over
super,
Marvin Harrison?
super slept on right now because of
wild
the
to me.
injuries
so
that he
I
dealt
was
with
just
last year.
giving you a guy at the end of the first, talking about Marvin Harrison becoming the wide receiver 2 on your roster,
Yeah.
instead of the wide receiver 1. So for me with that, then it's okay. You've got Puka, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, some of those guys right there at the end of round 1. And then, early round 2, you've got Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, Drake London. Like, with the guys he's got paired with him,
I would take all of
I
them over
see
him.
the value.
I would take all of them over Marvin Harrison, though. I would take Devontae Adams over Marvin Harrison Jr. every day of the week. He's going to get 15 targets a game. He's just totally cemented himself as the number 1 target. We have not seen Marvin Harrison Jr. play with Kyler Murray at all. And, like, that's just such a big question mark for me.
But also,
it gets
the
me gun shy.
effect and the production we have seen out of rookie wide receivers the last few years here.
And that's where in a dynasty, I think that you absolutely take him. You don't even question it, because what happened with JSN and Quentin Johnston and like basically everyone that wasn't Zay Flowers in the first round last year could happen to this guy. Like Jamar Chase took a couple of weeks to come on before he had a great rookie season. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like it's a bit rich for my blood in a
Jamar Chase
redraft.
had a record-setting rookie season until Justin Jefferson came in.
Yeah. Well,
or just Jefferson was first, and then but no. See,
it's just a bit early for me. Like I'm not
if
against
he was
it.
my wide receiver 2 on my
Lamb.
roster, I'm completely fine with it.
I would if I could get a Puka Nakua and then follow it with Devontae Adams, I'm so happy there. Garrett Wilson, like a lot of these guys that are going after Chris Olave, maybe a little bit rich for me because he is such a big play threat. He doesn't get enough target volume for me to be super happy, but I don't hate it. I'm not saying that nobody should take him at 17. I am saying that you should maybe let some of your league mates take the risk and take something a little bit more sure in the second round, and then take another guy later like a Malik Neighbors who has nobody around him to catch the ball besides him. He's got Jalen Hyatt, who did turn it on a little bit last year, and Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard. Like,
he also has Daniel Jones throwing him the ball.
Kyler Murray
when we're doing it that way, give me Marvin Harrison Jr. with Kyler Murray over Malik Neighbors with Daniel Jones.
If they were 17
day,
and 18, I would agree. But if I can get Malik Neighbors in the third or the fourth round, then that's so much more value for me.
Yeah, I understand that because, it is the value, and he's becoming your wide receiver 3 or your flex guy.
And I'm okay with that.
But I'm having to rely on Daniel Jones.
I'm okay with that.
In a redraft league, I don't know if I want any part of Malik Neighbors.
Not going to sleep well at night.
In a dynasty, give me Malik Neighbors because I don't think Daniel Jones will be there forever.
Team. I won't be touching the Giants in fantasy.
So, all right.
Maybe in some league, like a 1 year league, like touching Malik Neighbors, like you said, yeah, obviously the talent's there, but it's still iffy.
So we beat this one to death. Michael Wilson, 65th wide receiver off the board, 149 overall. That's somewhere where I do see a bunch of value. Dortch, I'm not as excited about, but we talked about the talent that Michael Wilson has last year a lot. Dude's 6'2". He's elusive. He's got good hands. I think that he's going to have a lot of opportunities to catch a lot of balls.
He led the team in yards per catch last year.
Now, he's not going to get 8 to 10 targets a game, but all he needs is 4 to 5 for me to take him in the 15th round, basically. Like, he's basically like the end of the draft. I would take him in the 12th or 13th and take a flyer on a guy like that because he's got so many pieces around him. And if injury does happen, then he becomes the number one target, like, right away. He had to deal with Hollywood Brown a lot last year, and I'm a lot more on like betting on that offense in the back end of the draft. They've never been a top offense. They've never had an offense. Cliff Kingsbury's gone, but they've never been like we are a fantasy relevant offense except for James Conner and Kyler Murray. Last year, Trey McBride looked very solid, very last year, but that was because there was no one else. There was literally no one else.
And they just added two more pieces to it. And they're gonna rock with it.
That hurts.
And
Trey
3 more
McBride.
pieces.
Doesn't
Don't touch my tip.
Before we
Don't
get
touch
out
my
of the
tip.
ADPs,
Don't touch my
Trey
tip.
Benson being the number 32 running back, about a 9th, 10th, 11th round pick for you, depending on your league size. I love that value. Like, I know he's RB2 on your team, and depending on how your draft works out, that's probably RB3 or RB4 for you.
Yeah.
But even outside of being a handcuff, I think he's going to give you some value this season. Maybe not necessarily early on because of the rookie status.
Yeah.
But James Conner isn't going to be able to carry the rock 25 times a game.
Rookie running backs tend to get the ball a lot earlier in their careers than rookie wide receivers. Now, Marvin Harrison is an outlier. He's going to get the ball early and often because of where they drafted him and the type of talent that he has. But for the most part, rookie wide receivers take a couple of weeks to get going. Maybe like week 10, they're like starting to show up. By week 4 to week 6 is when I think we see Trey Benson starting to get 40% of the carries. And as soon as he starts to get 50% of the carries and he's more efficient with them, he's the best running back to have on the Cardinals. Connor then becomes the touchdown guy, and you'll always deal with the touchdown vulture as long as Connor's healthy. But I'm okay with that whenever I've got a potential receiving threat that's got breakaway home run threat speed. I love Trey Benson at 105 overall.
And just to touch on their defense, because, I mean, I felt like that was, outside of wide receiver, that was their weakest point. They were able to get Darius Robinson at edge, Max Melton at corner from Rutgers, and Elijah Jones at corner as well. And then Xavier Thomas, one of our mock draft darlings that we constantly were mocking from Clemson. I like what they did as far as getting pieces to their defense that might not necessarily be world beaters, but good developmental guys that you can tell were picked because of how they'll fit into what they're trying to build in their system. We got to remember Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator for Philly. So he does have a certain vision on what he's wanting this defense to look like. I really like the doubling up on the edge and the corner for them because that was their weakest positions on the defense. Like, their defensive interior could use some help, but for where they were sitting at in the draft, I like what they did with it. And with that being the case, and all that being said, over under sitting at 6.5. They went 4-13 last year, but that was with 8 games of Kyler Murray. What are we looking at? What are we thinking for him this season?
I'm thinking over.
To my tip.
Without even no love for tip, bro. You just literally took Trey Benson's dick out of McBride. I'm sorry, Trey McBride's dick out of your mouth. And then you want to talk about
what
Tip
are you
Ryman?
talking about? How are you gonna say I'm taking his?
You were so heavy on
genital parts out of my mouth. How are you gonna say that?
You're talking.
I can't like a dude.
But then,
I can't like his athleticism.
But then you want
he's being
Tip
drafted
Ryman?
as a 3rd overall tight end.
But then
Wake
you want
up,
Tip
guy.
Ryman?
Wake up. We're
Tim
in
Ryman
2024.
is an extra
Ryman
tackle.
has zero
You need
fantasy
to look
value.
at backup
Yeah.
tight ends.
Tim
Nah.
Ryman has zero fantasy
Nah,
value.
bro.
No, you got to look at backup tight ends. You got to be woke, bro.
Tim Ryman might get you like 4 touchdowns and 150 yards this year.
Just saying, watch out. Don't touch my tip.
So that was a good one. So I'm going over. I think 6.5 wins is actually way too low. Kyler Murray being back is a massive improvement for this team. The fact that they only won 4 games last year, he was coming back from injury, and now he's fully healthy. He's got a whole offseason to build some rapport with these guys. I think that Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Trey McBride makes a very solid receiving core, and then their running back room in Connor and Benson is also very solid. Like, their offensive line probably could use a little help. I haven't dug really deep on their offensive line since the draft, but their skill positions are very solid across the board.
Yeah, their O-line is solid. It could clearly be upgraded, but there's for sure worse O-lines in the league.
What's the over-under?
6.5.
I go
No, sir.
over. I go over.
I think they can get 8
looking at their
wins.
schedule right here, I think they could pull out 7 or 8 wins.
I want you to name me the 6 teams that they beat.
The 6 teams I think they have a chance to beat, just looking at the schedule. Commanders.
Okay.
I think they could steal one from the Chargers.
Ooh, that's tough, but okay.
Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Minnesota Vikings.
That's going to be tough, but I'll give you one.
Patriots.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Panthers.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think they could steal one from the Seahawks. So there's your 7 right there.
I do see
Like,
that,
they'll have to
but
steal
it's
a
also going to be
couple, but I also
that's
think
like
they
a
can.
perfect. That's almost like a perfect season for them to be able to beat all those teams. Like, you're talking about all those teams not messing up against the Cardinals is when they're looking at this team as an easy dub.
Yeah, well, that's where, like, the Seahawks, to me, like, yeah, they've
I'm
got,
a betting
like,
man. If
offensive
I had to put my
weapons,
money
but
on
I
it,
don't
I would
see
go
the
under.
Seahawks as a far. And stay tuned, because we'll get into that episode for you guys later. If you subscribe and hit that noti bell, you'll get the alert for it. But I don't really see the Seahawks being that much better of the team. Vegas doesn't either. They've only got their win total 1 game higher at 7.5.
I mean, shit, they beat Dallas week
Yeah,
3
well,
last year.
like-
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. Now we're
Yeah.
just poking the bear.
I'm sorry, that was mean. They barely beat Atlanta.
They're not even my
they
friend
beat
anymore.
they
So
beat
you're
Pittsburgh,
under. You're
and they
under
beat
on them.
Philly. But beating Philly in week 17 shows a lot of like why I'm high on this team. Philly needed to win that game, and they still lost. Like, they're not a bad football team. They had some bad games, but like the only game that they really was a horrible game for them was Cleveland last year when they went 0-27. I think that they could win 7 or 8 games. I think that they're definitely a football team.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to make
that's solid.
playoffs, but
No,
for
I
that
don't think
win
so.
total, I think that's a little low.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. Hey,
What?
if you is what it is and you've been here the whole time with us, we appreciate you guys hanging out. TulsiRoseTea.com is the sponsor. 500 subs, free jersey to one of you lucky viewers. Pro Football Podcast is doing a Dynasty League. If you want any kind of information on that, hit us up on Twitter at @ProFootball_pod. Hit us up in the DMs. Make sure to drop us a follow. Hit us up on the YouTube comment section. We'll reach out, figure out what we got to do for you. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Peace out.